Hello. Hello. I'm back. Yes, I'm alive. Hello. Welcome. You have 5 seconds, Melly. I'm here. Um, hello. Welcome back. Let's see. It is Monday. Hello, hello. Can you guys see me? Can you hear me? Respond now before I block you. Thank you very much. You got 5 seconds. Hi. I'm reading the chat and I'm cracking up, and I don't think anybody coming in new would understand. I think people would be like, why is she talking about blocking people and counting down to the people in the chat? Hello. Yes, don't block me. Hi. Yes. Okay, good. Hello, hello. Welcome back. Good to see y'all. Okay, let me go back. I'm alive after last night. I'm here and I'll stay. I promise to not pass out. Please do not. Like I said last night, we're just gonna pretend we're gonna go about our day like nothing ever even happened. Um, let's continue. I'm gonna put the chat up on the screen in a second. But hello, welcome back. I am Melly. This is my channel. This is my house. Welcome to you, all the replay viewers, all the new subscribers, all the new members, all the haters, all of you. I love you. Thank you for being here. I am early. No more chasing. Oh no, you guys better chase. I saw Drakey, Carrie, Abuelitas, Debbie, Fem, Evie, Pizza Hut Slut, Cuff You. Oh, I feel bad saying that. Oh my gosh. Um, that's the name. Cuff You. And I saw Creep hop in here. Jamie says, I want to chase for once. I want Melly to chase for once. Okay, fine. I'll chase. I'll chase. Hello, Sunshine. Weeza, Eeza, Broken, Eeza. Oh, okay. We're broken up. We're broken up? No, we're not broken up. Standoff? Who? Oh, in Strongsville. I did hear about that. Hey, hey. Send her photos of skeleton. Yeah, that was hilarious. I had so much fun. So shout out to the ones that were there for last night for the after dark. It was a figment of your imagination. Um, didn't happen. Hello. Hello, Olivia. Okay, we're back today with more text message reading. No, it's not 31,000 pages. But it is like I think 300. New channel. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Tomorrow. I should be letting you guys know, and you guys can all go subscribe over at the second channel. So all the Melly After Darks will be moving over there. With that being said, we are reading text messages between Pumpkin and Dad today. Daddy-O. I don't remember what these were like, so we're just going to get through them together. This is the text messages from Celebrate, and I don't know that we'll get through all of them today, but if we don't, then we'll come back either later or tomorrow. It just depends how long it'll take us. Last night was a dream. It was. So if you see me drinking a lot of water today, just mind your business. You know why. Stay hydrated. Okay. Thank you very much. That's enough of this. Oh, please hit the like button, subscribe, hype, do all those things that help the channel. And I do appreciate all the support, the likes, the chats, all of it. And shout out to the members. Like I said, I'm going to be thinking of something amazing for the members only. Something I have an idea of something that I haven't seen on YouTube. So hopefully I'm going to work on that this week, and the members content should be getting more in depth, more of it, if you may. Hello, Anton. I woke up with my AirPods still in. I passed out on you. Yeah. Hey, what were the last messages between? There was a lot. There's a lot, First Liberties. You're going to have to listen to that live because there was a lot going on. I missed the secret code for the other channel. I haven't linked it yet, but I will. Drink orange juice. Do I need to pull up with an IV? LOL. I had pickle juice. Pickle juice actually helps heal. I don't know if that's true, if that's a myth, but nonetheless, I drank a ton of pickle juice. Hello ATS and hello Abuelitas. What? A secret code? There's no secret code. There's no secret code. The second channel will be as soon as I'm ready. It's already up, but I don't want anyone to go over there until it's completely done my way. I don't know. Is that weird? Like I need my banner. I need to put that up tonight. So once that's ready, then y'all can go subscribe. Okay. I will shut it. Let me pull the text messages up on the screen. Can you guys see them okay? This is text messages between Kenzie and her dad. Um, it does have the dates, I believe. Let's see. Yes. So this was in 2020. So these were in the FOIA package. So for some reason, they felt we needed them. So greetings. Hello, Egyptian. Good to see you, love. Pickle juice is invigorating. I love pickles. Pause. I hope you guys don't mind. Oh, yeah, you're fine. Oh, Laura says, I hope you don't mind, but I'm taking y'all into the shower with me. She brings us into the bed, into the shower. This is no longer a true crime channel. That's funny. Let's hear about pumpkin and yeah, Steve. I missed that live. Glad you're feeling better. Absolutely. It's been a long day, but what are we gonna do? Okay, so I'm gonna be jumping back and forth between StreamYard and the text messages. These start on January 4th, 2020 at 1:52 a.m. Like, I thought Steve Picklehead would be freaking sleeping. I got lots of liquid IV. Okay, yes, I do need a big pickle, Melly. All right, behave, you guys. Yes, I do like pickles. As long as you don't know who's on the exactly. Okay, so let's get started. She says, yeah, Kenzie's green, dad is blue. So Kenzie says, "Are you up? Is mom up? Can I stay till 2:30? Dad, can you make me warm milk?" I okay. I'm kind of remembering this now. So I think is warm milk code for something else? I think it might be. Hey, the real truth. Good to see you. And hello, Debbie, my love. Apparently, I need to figure out how to turn on ability to accept memberships. Yes, yes, do that. I should know. Definitely in your settings under, I think, like, I don't know actually. But yeah, definitely fix that so you can get a membership. Okay, this sounds familiar, right? She says, "Can you make me warm milk?" Steve says, "Sorry, just seeing this. You still want milk?" At 10:42 a.m. She says, "Okay," and that was on the 4th, and then it jumps to the 6th. She says, "Can you answer?" At 11:31 p.m. "Can you make me warm milk?" What's the deal with the warm milk? I forget. It's been a while. The dad says, "Okay, Steve." She says, "Thanks. When you come in, be quiet." Okay, so these jump around on the dates. So it jumps from the 6th to the 13th. And dad says, "Worst hamburger ever," and sends a picture. Kenzie says, "Ew." Dad says, "One of the kids wasn't eating it. So I asked why. He said they're terrible. So I tried one and he was correct. And then some. LOL." Kenzie says, "WTF is that?" And then she sends a picture. Okay, wow, that's a big jump in the dates. It jumps from January 13th to February 9th. I don't know what that is. She's taking a picture with something in her hand, but I can't see it because it's really tiny. Oh, it's a seed. She says seed on February 9th. Dad says, "You be careful. Watch what you drink and smoke. Call me first if there is a problem so I can come help." Jumps to the 15th. She says, "Okay, XOXO." Next day, dad says, "You are not to spend any night at the boys' house ever." "This will never happen again," he says. Are we clear? Interesting. That was on February 16th. The 20th, Kenzie says, "When are you going to be home?" Dad responds with, "Any idea when you'll be done? I'm picking you up." She says, "Soon. Come now." He says, "K." She says, "Hurry too. I'm in pain." He says, "Here, out front." And then jumps to March 9th. And he says, "Hey, call my cell when you're done, okay? Not the house phone." Kenzie says, "Okay, question mark." And then it jumps to the 22nd. And Kenzie says, Can you rub my feet? Um, oh, the chat covers the messages, sorry. She's asking her dad to rub her feet. Um, I've never done that. So I don't know. I guess let me know if you guys do that. Whoa, whoa. Yeah. Hey, Hossein. Hey, Hossein, you want some more milk? Um, how old is she in these? So this is 2020. So like 15, 16, I think. Hey, Tia, I'm listening. I'm driving home from work, but I'm listening. Okay, thanks, Tia, babe. Thanks, Tia, babe. Hey, Jocelyn. Weird AF. Sorry. Hey, Benji, you're with PM. Yucky. Ew. Wow, her feet get around. You got I forgot the feet sex, not with the dad, with some old man. But yeah, allegedly. Um, so I guess she's asking her dad for a foot rub. Okay, cool. She says, "Can you rub my feet on the 22nd at 11:35 p.m.?" Okay. The next day at 4:51, dad says, "I do love you and I did not say anything about Dom when you were leaving with mom. Please let them help you at the hospital." I'm, like, trying to think back to the text messages, but it's, like, impossible. There's too much with the Kenzie and Dom text messages. "Warm milk helps baby tummy and sleepy." She's not a baby. Um, gross, nasty foot girl. What the F? My dad is not rubbing my feet at all at that age. Dude, like, I kinda wanna show you guys I'm gonna have to ask my father, in person. Like, "Do you wanna rub my feet?" and videotape it? Because he would be like, "What?" He would literally probably pass out. He would be shocked of that coming from my mouth. Hey, Ruth. Ew, Vanjie. No, no. Okay, okay. Um, dad says, "Oh, yeah, wait, so what happened at the hospital, and what does he mean by I did not say anything about Dom? Why is she in the hospital?" I wonder if this is when she had, like, that mental incident where the police and the ambulance came. Ooh, I have the document. I could probably look at that date. I'm interested, or maybe it wasn't that. Hey, Mary Beth, good to see you, love bug. Don't do that, Melly kiss. Melly kiss. Okay, then let's see, that's on the 23rd, and then on the 25th, he says, "Come home, please. I love you. Dot, 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 your choice." And then on the 27th, it kind of jumps from the dates a lot. He says, when are you coming home on the 27th?" He says, "You're not going to be in trouble or get punished," at 6:20 p.m. I wonder if it was one of the nights she was, like, staying at Dom's late. He said, "Just come home." Kenzie said 6:30. He says, "'Kay." And then on April 2nd, she says, "Will you make me warm milk?" He says, "Just saw this. Do you still want?" She says, "No." He says, "Sorry, my phone was dead." Then on May 3rd, she says, "Dad, can I please sleep over at Dom's tonight? I won't ask for a while. I just want a night with friends. Please let me tonight. It will make me really happy. Please, Dad, I just want a night away from home." So while she's telling her dad, like, "Oh, give me a night, let me stay over there a night away from home," she's over there telling Dom, "I'm moving in. I hate them. I hate them." You know what I mean? To Dom about her parents. "Aw, you guys are sweet. Thank you. My dad would never touch my feet," says Ruth. "I am shocked she did not give countdown." Hey, Black Rose. Yeah, I know. You guys are sweet. Thank you, Ruth. That's really nice. 1%. I'll say charge your freaking phone. Why do they talk the same? Do you want? Okay. She says, "Please, Dad, I just want a night away from home." He says, "No, sorry. Don't argue about it. It's a no." She says, "Please let me, Dad." He says, "Ken's, I'm not doing this with you. Sorry, the answer is no. Please, just accept my wishes and do what your mother and I say, please. Don't turn this into anything else that causes me to come get you now, okay?" And then the next day she says, "Can you get me spray paint, blue, hot pink, and purple, like right now, please?" Oh my goodness. She literally treated everyone how she treated Dom. Hey, Mandy's. So once upon a time, there was rules in the Shirilla home. It sounds like it, and like warm milk, a lot of warm milk, and a lot of feet rubs. So I don't know what that's all about. Servants to her. Yeah, literally. She's like right now, please. Dude, again, if I talked to my dad like this, he'd be like, don't let the door hit you on the ass. Like my dad would literally say that. And spray paint. I don't remember what she wanted the spray paint for. Oh gosh, she says again on the 5th, "Can you make me warm milk?" And then on the 8th, she says again, "Can you make me milk?" Okay. Is milk code for something else? I'm starting to think about this because I remember this from a really long time ago. It's not completely clear, it's in a fog, but I remember, um, she used to tag graffiti. I remember that I'm thinking, why would it be in the evidence text if it's really just milk? I wonder if it's code word for WEED, marijuana. My parents would have sent me to Alcatraz if I acted like Kenzie. Facts. She says, "Can you make me milk?" Again on the 8th. He says, "K." She says, "Can you do it now?" And it's 3:18 in the morning. Why is Steve up at 3:18 in the morning and making her warm milk? Code for dabs. Okay, that's what it was. It is. Code for dabs. Thank you, Yvonne. Oh, yeah, the warm dabs. Oh, so Steve Shirilla was smoking dabs, allegedly? I don't know. Um, okay, she says, "Can you do it now?" That was on the 8th at 3:18 AM, and then she says again at 10:03 AM on the 9th. So literally, like, hours later. She says, "Can you make me milk? Text me when it's done. I'll come back," she says. He says, "Why would you leave? It's done." She says, "I wanted to spray paint. I'm with people now." He says, "When I tell you to wait, wait. Thanks." And that was on the 9th. And then on the 13th at 1:21 AM, she texts dad and says, "Can you make me hot cocoa?" I can't believe they had like code words for this. Hey, Jakey, because he's weird AF. Carrie says they talk about it later, how it stabs. He just only needs to learn Carney. I know. Hey, Leisha, they have a weird relationship. Yeah. I don't. So, okay. So the warm milk is dabs. The hot cocoa is what? She says, "Can you make me hot cocoa?" He says, "Sorry, just saw this." That was on May 13th. And then it jumps to June 10th. And she says, "Can you bring tanning oil? I forgot it." And then she says, "How far?" And then she's sending Yelp links on the 14th. Think of restaurants. And then on the 27th, she says, "Can you make me more stencils?" And you guys, it jumps from date to date because remember, they're only pulling like what would be, I guess, important for the investigators or the case, I guess. I don't know. Or to prove that, you know, stuff was going on, I guess. What's code for hot cocoa? I haven't figured it out yet. This is disgustingly ridiculous. Dude, code word for dabs. This is why you thought chocolate pancakes was code for something too. Stop it. Asane remembers. This relationship is weird and not right. Oh, thank you, Babelet, Alicia. Thank you for the cash app. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, Babelet. She says on the 27th at 4:13 p.m. Can you make me more stencils, but out of cardboard? Please let mom buy it. And then she's sending a link to, I think, stencils. And then it jumps to July 4th. She says, he says, be careful tonight and don't roll your eyes and say, OMG, I'll know. Kenzie says, okay. Then on the 24th, he says, have fun, love you. She says, love you too. And then on the 25th, he says, everything going okay? She says, yes. Did you fix the pic? I need you to fix this ASAP. I'm trying to post it. He says, did you send it to me? Have not seen it. She said, I sent it to mom. He said, hold on, she's looking. And then Kenzie sends 2 pictures. She says, there, make those lighter. What a little brat. Make those lighter. He's a teacher. I know. I know. We're gonna watch a little 3-minute interview too with him. He was on the news and teach in graphic design and stuff. Oh, okay. Well, did they say on the news that he was good at foot rubs too? Uh, little brat. Yeah. She says, make those lighter. He says, tomorrow. Promise. And then she says on August the 3rd, don't you have a sticker pringer? Oh, printer typo. He says, kind of. She says, thanks, Dad. Love you. And then she sends him TikToks. She's sending her dad TikToks. I don't even know if my dad knows what a TikTok is. October 15th, she says, can you make me these? He says, yes, I can make anything. Oh. Kenzie says, I want those skeleton legs on a pair of my pants. She says, Dad. And then she says, can you make me milk on October 27th at 1 a.m.? He says, sorry, I was already asleep when you sent this. Sorry. She says, milk on the 4th at 11:21 p.m. Question mark, question mark. And then she says, okay, or not. She literally talks to her dad almost. I could hear her like she's talking to freaking Dom. We are femme. We're gonna cover him. I was very, very close to my father, but he never gave me foot rubs. I would love to to be a fly on the wall in their house. Yeah, she's like, answer me. Okay, and then she's sending him more TikToks of like clothing. So he probably wants her to like wants him to print something. She says on the 28th, you want weed peanut butter? So that was when her and Dom were making that. Interesting. So Stevo, you cannot lie and say you didn't smoke at the time because they're in these text messages. She says, you want weed peanut butter? He says, no, I don't like to eat my weed. She says, I'm going to give you a little. And then on December 7th, she says, are you making me milk? Dad? Dad? And then she says, are you home? He says, why? Are you okay? And then I don't know what that's a picture of. Is it clothes? Oh, I think it is. Oh, yeah, she says, "Get mom this," because it's now the 24th. She says, "Get mom this from Glass House." He says, "Bye. Tell mom not to look." She says, "I don't have any money. They close at 6." He says, "Get it from mom." She says, "I have no money." "Dad, you get it." Question mark, question mark, question mark. He says, okay, that was on the 24th. And then it jumps to the 29th. And he says, "You have 10 minutes to get home or I will call the police myself." This is where she gets it from. She's always threatening Dom. And look, her own dad's threatening her. What do you guys think about that? He says, "You have 10 minutes to get home or I will call the police myself." She says, "I'm finishing up at a nail appointment. I'll be home soon." He says, "I would leave now." "How disrespectful you are. I told you you were not allowed to drive. You will not be driving at all. I will come get you or any of your friends. No questions asked. Please don't drive around tonight. Be careful. Tell the boy the same. Love ya." On December 31st. He says, "Okay, love you too." And then on January 1st, 2021, he says, "Tell us you are all right as soon as you see this." Then she says, "We're up at Dom's." And it jumps to February 13th. And she says, "Happy birthday, Dad. Love you." He says, "Thanks, baby." And then on the 13th at 9:53 p.m., she says, "Will you make me some warm milk?" And then on the 20th, she says, "Are you home? Can you please try to book me a massage sooner than 7? I have a birthday party that I have to leave for at like 6. Dude, this girl literally does not one single freaking thing by herself. Like, Dom basically already did everything for her, paid everything for her, and now her dad is doing everything for her, even freaking rubbing her feet. That's crazy. She can't even make her own massage appointment. She says, "Mom is telling me to book it when, first of all, I never even talk to adults, and I have no money and I don't drive." She doesn't talk to adults? Okay, because yeah, she can't comprehend what an adult is saying, or vice versa. She says, "Are you okay?" On the 3rd at 11:51 AM. He says, "Yes, I'm okay. I feel like I have a cold." She says, "Okay, to be honest, you need weed." She says, "I'm worried." He says, "LOL, don't be worried. I actually feel good, just irritated that I got it and have to quarantine for 10 days." Let me get a drink of water. Okay. He said, "Quarantine for 10 days." She says, "Yeah, that's gay AF. COVID's some BS. You shouldn't have taken the test. Kendra has hella test." And then on March 5th, she says, "Hi, Dad. I hope you're feeling okay and your test goes well." And she sends him a selfie. He says, "Nice picture." And then she sends a picture of a dog. She says, "Cammy misses you." He says, "Of course he does. He's my dog." Then on March 10th, he says, "Do you have any Hershey's bars?" She says, "I do." He says, "Don't have one. Want to give one?" Hmm. Then on the 13th, she says, "The food is here." He says, "Thanks." She says, "Want me to bring it up?" I wonder if Hershey's is code for something. I have to sneeze. Um, Jakey says, "They have ruined the New Year's Eve countdown for me." Thank you, Jakey, for the super chat. I appreciate you. Yeah, I know. The father is incoherent. Now you want water. Hey, remember what I said at the beginning of the live? If I'm thirsty, you know why. No wonder her parents did not try to get her to go home. It totally makes sense. Now she only has to walk to the hall and back to herself. Yes, yes, Laura. She doesn't talk to adults. I guess not. She says, "Want me to bring it up?" He says, "No, I'll be down." This is wait, what did she say? Oh, the food. Oh, and it's like 10 PM. On the 14th at 10:40 AM, he says, "Could Dom move his car so I can get out? Thanks." She says, "Come get his keys." He says, "Never mind, thanks." She says, "You're getting me from school, right?" He says, "Yes, what time?" She says, "2:25 is when school's out. Ask mom when to leave because traffic is usually bad." And then he says, "I'm here, second row, left of the doors. Music will be blasting. LOL." She says, "LOL, okay." And then she says, "Send a pic of your view." He says, "I'm next to an orange SUV. Find the orange SUV." She says, "Dom will drive me tomorrow to Polaris. I don't I have a ride from home from Polaris." He says, "Okay." He says, "Bring my app." Kenzie says, "Bring my iPad when you come get me." He said, "Where is it?" She said, "In my room." This is the 16th now. I have to sneeze, sorry. He says, "I'm coming. I'm here. Do I need to sign you out?" She says, "Okay, I'll come." She says, "Give me 5. Where are you parked?" He says, that was on the 16th. And then he says, "Thanks, baby. I had fun with you today." On the 16th. She says, "Or was fun. I'm always down to eat." He says, "Picking you up 10. I'll text you when I get there." He says, "I'm here." And then she says, "Milk is cold AF at 3:16 PM." She says, "I'm going to drink it, but it's not warm." He says, "Bring it down." And then the next day she says, "Can you go in my room and see if I have any mannequin heads in there because mine is missing?" He says, "'Kay." If my dad ever called me baby, I think I would just die. And I never try to encourage a please and thank you, even though that is like 1-year-old lesson. I know. Kenzie makes me realize how much I don't ask for help. Ruth says her dad is oh, Shanta says the same. Like just like I can't stand her. Um, okay. He says, "Okay." He says, "There are 2 white foam heads with wigs on them. That's all I saw." Then he says, "Do I need to pick you up?" She says, "Yeah." He says, "I'm here about the same spot as the other day." She said, "Okay." She said, "Is high voltage open?" He says, "Yes. They're open till 9 PM and it's 22 per race." She says, "Can you make me more milk, please?" He says, "Okay." On the 18th, he says, "Be by pickup is 10:30." Okay, so are you at Dom's? Then he says, "Please confirm you got my text." Ken's? She says, "Okay." She says, "I'm coming." She says, "Are you here?" He says, "Not yet, 5 minutes." He says I said I'm here." He says, "Ken's?" Sorry, hold on one second. Okay, she says I have to sneeze. Um, she said he says, "Ken's?" She says, "Okay." He says, "Let's go. You knew I was coming." Oh, it's 10:38 PM. Probably picked her up from Dom's. He says, "If any trouble arises, call this number. It's my friend Jimmy. He lives in Toledo." Is it Toledo? She says, "Okay, good." Is it Toledo or Toledo? I think we had this conversation before. She says, "I will." He says, "Be safe and smart, please. Love you." She says, "We are at the hotel. We're not doing shit. It's boring, so I think I'll be fine." He says, "Sorry, I worry a lot." Yeah, he does. He says, "Don't go anywhere alone." She says, "LMAO, we won't." He says, "Don't laugh. I'm not going to sleep well tonight." Then on March 29th, he says, "Hey, it's mom's birthday Wednesday. We're going to Buka for dinner. Find out what she wants for her birthday, or if you have any ideas, let me know." She says, "Okay, I will." She says, "Mom told me she wants a really nice week for her birthday." Oh, she meant wig. Natalie Shirilla wears wigs? I didn't know that. Kenzie says, "One that looks gonna look extremely natural, like she's not even wearing one. She wants one in her color. We need to find one ASAP." He says, "We'll talk when you get home, okay?" Totally. Okay. He says, we'll talk when you get home, okay?" She says, "Are you on the way?" He says, "Waiting on Danny, then we're on the way." She says, "You could have just went to Columbus. I don't know why mom made it seem like shampoo and conditioner was more important than the shelves for my room." I do think shampoo and conditioner is more important than shelves, Kenzie, you dirty. What the hell is wrong with her? She says, "I really need the shelves." He says, "It's okay. You're my pumpkin. It's okay. You're my pumpkin." Maybe she has alopecia. Remember all her meetings? She had no hair. Oh, him apologizing for worrying. It's strange. Not Natalie in a freaking wig. Yeah. What the hell? I know. I know. He says, "You're my pumpkin." She says, "I know. I just don't want the shelves to be sold out. I really need them." He says, "Kay." He says, "Hey, sorry to wake you, but Dom's got to move his car so I can go to work now." He says, "Ken's on the April 13th at 6:05 a.m." He says, Ken's. And then on the 16th, it's the same issue again. "Hey, sorry to wake you, but Dom's got to move his car so I can go to work now." She says, "Okay." And then she's sending a picture of, I don't know if it's like lights or what. She says, "Do you know your glasses are there?" He says, and that was on the 16th. And then it jumps to the 21st. And he says, "Wakey, wakey, Dom needs to move his car. Ken's." And then he says it again on the 21st. "Wakey, wakey, Dom needs to move his car." Oh, wait, maybe that was the same day. He says, "Ken's" again. He says, "Now I have to leave." And then she says on the same day at 11:05 a.m., she says, "Do you know where we can get cones? Mom doesn't want to help. I've been trying to practice maneuverability and nobody is helping. Like, my test is tomorrow." He says, "Are the cones up at the high school?" She says, "No, some effing idiot moved them. So now there's no cones there." He says, "Call the school or go to the office and ask about the cones. Maybe they put them out after school ends." Oh, because she was learning to drive. And I'm glad she's practicing like one day before. He says, she says, "That's not even, there's not even school today, but I'm going to call them." Dad says, "Maybe the cones are off to the side and just not in the lot." She says, "Someone just bring them there. The school does not own them. I just called." He says, "Okay, you can wait for me when I get out of school 4 p.m.ish, or try Home Depot or Lowe's and see if they have them, or just use a parking space without cones. Have Dom or someone stand like the one cone at the top and maneuver them around, or just wait for me." She says, "Mom just called at the school and they said they're going to see if they have cones." And then it jumps to May 4th. And she says, "Ever effing put that on my car again. Don't ever. Never," she says. "Now I'm going to be late because I had to turn on and go take that shit off." He says, "LOL." She says, "It's seriously not funny. Like, I will seriously flip the F out." He says, "Don't talk to me like that. LOL." She says, "I'm gonna talk to you however I want until that bumper sticker showing up on till my that bumper sticker stops showing up on my car. I'm going to talk to you however I want." She's really, really disrespectful. He's encouraging her to use people as cones. I caught that too. I'm like, did he just say tell Dom to go stand out there? Yeah. What do you mean, Laura? She says, I remember her freaking out about her parking test. I don't remember that, but I guess it's been a while. This would absolutely never fly in my house. She says, "Yeah, I'm gonna talk to you however I want." And he says, "No." LOL. She says, "Because now I'm late somewhat that my hours matter." Okay, then call Polaris and get my hours back. He says, "You didn't need to come all the way back." LOL. That's your fault. LOL. She says, "Blocked." She's literally blocking her dad. He says, "Thanks for the laugh." LOL. Giggle, he says. Giggle. What is actually going on here? Then on the 9th, she says, "What candle scents does mom like? Can you try to get me a picture from this video?" He says, "I can't see it." He says on June 16th or 15th, "Am I unblocked? Sorry you didn't have a good time last night. Really, no matter what, Kens, I love you." So June 15th, he sends that. "Am I unblocked? Sorry you didn't have a good time last night." He says, "And only want the best for you." And then on the next day, she says, "Can I go to Crocker Park, please?" She says, "Lobster bisque." And then on the 18th, she says, "Never take my car there again." He says, "Why?" "Okay, why?" And then it jumps to the 20th and she says, "Happy Father's Day." And she sends him a little emoji. He says, "Thanks, baby." And then on June 24th, he says, "Would you do me a favor tonight, please?" He says, "I won't ground you next time you piss me off." So that's how they work things out. "I won't ground you the next time you piss me off if you just do something for me." Rebecca says, "I get blocked on a phone I pay for? They lose that phone, period." Seriously. See spam text. Yeah. He says, "I won't ground you next time you piss me off." He says, "Really?" She says, "What?" He says, "Never mind." Then he says, "Your mother really loves me, but you missed out on a grounding pass." Okay. And then it jumps to the 28th and she says, "Your windows are down." And then July 5th, "Food?" with 20 question marks. Then she sends him a bunch of TikToks. And then on the 8th, he says, "They had that at the mall, remember?" She says, "No, when?" He says, "You don't remember the radio controlled cars and trucks?" That was on the 9th, and then it jumps all the way to the 26th. She says, "Turn turn your down." And then she says, "Tell me when you're home." He says, "KK." She says, "How long?" He says, "On my way a few minutes in driveway." And then on the 6th, he says, "Hey, hey." She says, "Okay." She says, "Come in." She says, "On at 9:15 PM, where did you put that vodka?" He says, "On the counter where I showed it to you, LOL." She says, "Oh." He says, "TSA sucks. I have a big pair of scissors, a toolkit, my butane lighter, and they missed it." And then he says, "Sorry for mom." She says, "LOL." And then he sends a picture that I can't see. She says, "I wish." And then he's sending more pictures. And now he's sending a picture of t-shirts. He says, "I'm gonna get you and Dom these." She says, "OMG, yes." He says, "Really? What size is Dom?" She says, "It's funny. Large." He says, "You like it here, but you need to be one to have fun all the time." Oh, he must be in Vegas. And then on the 10th, she sends a link to or a picture of something. He says, "Which one? There's been at least 3." She says on the 12th, August 12th, "Tell mom to answer my text right now." She says, "Do it." Question mark, question mark. She says, "Are you just not going to help?" He says, "Sorry, not getting involved. I'm just going to get mad." She says, "Thanks for making this the worst birthday I ever had." He says, "Please answer the phone. I'm not going to yell." He says, you need to work with us, and going to the West Coast is out of question. We do not have the time or money to get there. We could get there, then have to turn around and leave." She says, "There's a lot more places in between that we could go to." She says, "I'm never going to forget this." He says, "Then come up with some." She says, "New Orleans, Nevada, Mississippi," with 10 question marks 2 times. She says, "I just came up with some." What? She says, "Are we effed?" And then sends a picture of something. And then she says on August 21st, "There's Hot Wheel grab bags at this garage sale." And then on the 25th, she says, "Never drive my car again without putting gas in it. Like, what the F? How are you going to drive someone's car, then not put a single set of gas in when it's literally below the line? It was not below the line when I gave you my car." Hey, Rochelle. Oh, are you? I'm sorry. That's so toxic to triangulate your parents. I know. I know, I know. That's a stone 1 and stone 2. He lets her treat him like that because she lets him rub her feet. Dude, I don't know. That's weird. Why would you ever just show your daughter where the vodka is? Sus. True Crime says, "If I ever had talked to my parents the way she does, they would probably caught a charge for me for busting me in my mouth." Facts. I agree. Oh, this is when he puts the foot down. Yeah, listen to this. He says, "First, I took your car to get service, which I paid for, and then had to waste an hour of my time waiting for it and cleaned some of the inside because the person that drives it is a slob and doesn't keep it clean. And then when I returned your car to the driveway, I noticed the gas was on empty. So I left you a note, told you when you came home, and told your mother to tell you. So be more respectful and responsible. You owe me $74 for the service and $25 for the hour I had to sit there wasting my time for my disrespectful daughter." And then it doesn't show what she replies. It jumps to the September 4th. She says, "I'm inside." She says, "We're leaving now. Get corn and watermelon." And then on the 5th, she says, "Can you come get us?" She says, "I'm here." He says, "So am I." Oh, wait. This is on the 16th. She says, "F that bitch." Oh, he says, "F that B in the red car." That almost slipped out. But YouTube's going to come for me. Don't come for me, YouTube. I'll rub your feet. She says, "F that B in the red car." I wonder who that was. She says, "I lost my happy face paint. If you find one, it's mine." He says, "It's on the key rack." He says, "Dom has to move car." He says, "Ken's now." And then jumps to October 13th. "Where you at?" "Calamari, extra lemon, no sauce on the calamari. If there's sauce, lobster bisque, and a side of bread that they give. I work at 6 o'clock and I need to leave by 5:50. He says, "K." She says, "What time will you be back?" Question mark. He says, "I'm there now waiting for it to come out." She says, "Bet." He says, "What does bet mean?" She says, "Good." Okay, and then oh, I wish you guys could see this, but you can't. It won't let me click on it. He sends a picture of himself flipping her off on October the 15th at 5:12 PM. This dynamic is, like, really, really, really weird. Hey, Dustin. You just got the bit part out. You left off the I caught myself. Good, Melly. Are they really that strict? It depends. It depends what side of the bed you 2 wakes up on. Sometimes they're like, "We'll let it slide." Other times they're in my DMs like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Okay, okay." It's very much different. This is a weird family. Yeah, he sends a picture and he's like holding his middle finger up. He says, "With love." He says, "On my way home, traffic sucks." And then he sends a picture of traffic. She says, "Okay, yay." And then she sends a picture. What is it? I can't tell what it is. But she says, "You need to fix this." He says, "'Kay. How are you feeling?" She says, "Not okay." He says, "Sorry, baby." We're on October 21st. He says, "We'll figure it out. Just try to be patient with us, okay? We're only attempting to help. We love you. I love you. Let us help." She says, I need help spray painting this head. I also need a top coat so it's not sticky." He says, "Are you home?" She says, "Yes?" Question mark, question mark. "The paint is literally sticky. I touched by the ear and it's sticky, just like I told you it would be. So what are we going to spray on top so to make it not sticky?" He says, all the paint will be that way till I get home." She says, "Why didn't you tell me it was going to be sticky then?" He says, "We'll figure it out. Don't panic." She says, "It's literally sticky. You better fix what you ruined or I will fail, Polaris." No, Kenzie, you're not going to fail because of your stupid ass project. You're going to fail because hey, Frank, because you go in there smelling like weeds. Hey, voices in your head. And you basically never show up. That's why you're gonna fail, Polaris. These are before. This is October 22nd, 2021. That's the date where we're at. She says, "Or I will fail Polaris." He says, "So?" She says, "Are you trying to say you're slow?" He says, "I'm saying when you speak to me with disrespect, I don't care if you fail." She says, "Let me know when it's fixed." Question mark. And then on the 22nd, she says, "Do you know how to use a music DAW?" And then it jumps to 26. She says, "Good to know to never ask you to do anything again. You just effed up my whole morning. How about you tell people your plan instead of just effing not going?" She says, "On the way home from work, can you get the stuff I used for the neck of my project? Can you please go get us White Claws or some shit from the gas station?" She says, "On October 35th, 1st at 8:57 PM." Sorry, I was trying to read the time and the date at the same time. The 31st. "Can you please go get us White Claws or some shit for the gas station?" So there's a proof that they were giving them alcohol. Then she says, "Or Mike's, like Mike's Hard Lemonade." And she says, "Something like that." He says, "I am in bed. I have to get up early and it's Sunday." She says, "Can you bring us some, please? We need some, even the ones in the garage fridge." He says, "Then come get it." She says, "There's people here." She says, "OMG." He says, "Mom will drop it off in a bit." She says, "Bet." He says, "Bet?" Question mark. As in better? She says, "Thanks." She said, bet as in good. He says, K. Didn't he just ask that? Am I like tripping? He says, Dom has to move his car on November 2nd. He says, do you still want bisque? She says, no. He says, K. She says, on the way home, get brownie mix on November the 4th. He says, I won't be home until 6:30ish. She says, when will you go to Presties? Please? He says, what is Presties? Around 6:30 to 7ish. He says, I have to be at school till 6. She says, a bakery in Little Italy. Oh, okay. He says, why am I going there to get brownie mix? She says, no. Just get me these little balls with sprinkles. Just send a pic when you're there. They are so good. In Calaquiches? She says, I think the raspberry ones, please. He says, find out what they're called. I'm at least half hour away from there. He says, I don't have school tomorrow. Can I get them tomorrow? And then she sends links to maps. She says 9. He says, if I can't get to the bakery, can I get them tomorrow? Just in case I run late at school. Kenzie says, you're going to make it. He says, LOL. But if I can't, is tomorrow okay? I have to stay till 8 p.m. and they just told me while I try and make it, mom is gonna, or you will have to get brownie mix. She says, why wouldn't you be able to? You don't have to get brownie mix if you get the Presties. He says, mom is getting the mix. I will rush to the bakery. Kenzie says, you will like it too. She says, get the little circle ones and the ones that are like wrapped up. Just text me when you're there. He says, I'm here. FaceTime me. And then he's sending pictures of what he's looking at, the pastries. She says, yes, both. And they're ice balls. Or, oh, she didn't mean to say that. She says they're anise seed. Anise? She says, little balls with sprinkles. I think they're called biscottis. Dad says, you're killing me, Smalls. Kenzie says, LOL. And then he sent pictures of it, the pastries. She says, yes. And then on November the 10th, she says, would you give me a rosewood? He says, what is a rosewood? Kenzie says, never mind. She says, can you get me Popeyes? He says, where is Popeyes close to us? And what do you want? Okay, so Dom's literally always buying her food and paying for stuff. And then she has her dad do it too. Always tiptoeing around her. I agree. This is not normal father-daughter talk. I know. It's really not. Hey, beautifully broken toots. It's very odd. I've never seen parents like this before. Tell her dad this is I just think it's crazy. They're freaks. Yeah, Kenzie is a perfect birth control method. Take her home for a week if you don't want kids and her behavioral. Yeah, they are freaks. um, she says, can you give me 2 biscuits and a large mashed potatoes? That's it. And then he sends a picture of the Popeye sign. He says, do you want gravy on mash? He says, gravy or no gravy? She says, gravy. She says, thank you. Wow. That's like the first time I hear her say thank you. He says, no problem. She said, get 3 biscuits. You should probably and that was on the 10th. And now we're on November 15th. She says, you should probably retake your driving test if you can't tell that you literally hit the effing bench with my car. She says, hashtag worst driver, hashtag retake your test today. He responds and says, you mean the car I had to move because the person who parked it failed to leave me room? And don't you mean the car that I pay for? Is that the car you're talking about? Watch how you speak to me or you won't have a car. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You tell her, Steve. You tell her as you get her warm milk and White Claws and rub her stinky, dirty feet. What about his other daughter? Yeah, no, doesn't sound like he does shit for her. She never ever says please or anything. Well, right on, Dad. I despise her, says Evie. She says, learn how to drive. Hashtag ass. I must be like really old school or something because, like, what? Excuse me? You just called your father an ass? I don't even say that joking. I don't. She needs military school, says Dustin. She says, hashtag ass, worst driver of the year. Then takes a picture of like, oh my gosh, she's so dramatic. Okay. I wish you guys could see this picture. It's honestly like barely touching the bench, like a little part of the bumper. Really, if that happened, I probably wouldn't even notice it. Unless it was like really bad. He says, how many weeks do you want not having a car? And then it jumps to the next day and he says, where are you? And then on the 17th, he says, you drive like ass. Nice speeding ticket, hot rod. She got her speeding ticket. I'm trying to think of back at the text with Dom. I can't remember like every single thing that happened because it was 3 years of text messages. But he says, nice speeding ticket, hot rod. Kenzie says, did you hear I got searched and there were 5 cop cars? Okay, and it jumps from the 17th to the 23rd. Ooh, I would have wanted to hear what Steve said to that. He says, buy a small or medium plain pizza, extra cheese. That was on November the 23rd, and then it jumps to the 9th. She says, stop being loud AF. He says, what? She says, I can hear you from all the way up here. Stop being so oversensitive AF, he responds. And I'm not being loud. She says, that's not oversensitive. I'm trying to sleep and you're stomping around, blowing your nose 79 times. It's literally 2:21 a.m. Dude, he can't even like blow his nose in his own home that he pays for. She says, stop being a woman hater. Whoa. It's a trip. It's a trip. Did I see? Who did I see? Hey, like side lower. Lower? Not me. The Buzzballs. Lakeside lawyer. Good to see you. This is a moment Steve Shirilla completely wimped out. He gave up. I cannot believe he's a teacher in Catholic school. I love Melly. No, I love you, Timu. Did they get texts? I don't think I have those. She's probably up fighting with Dom anyways. Yeah, I know. She says, stop being a woman hater. He says, stop being disrespectful to your father. She says, no need to call me a name because I'm trying to sleep. I'm not. I just asked you to be quiet. That was on the 9th. And then December 15th, he says, wakey, wakey, Dom has to move car. I can't get out. He said, Dom has to move it now. Now, in 10 minutes, please. Kenzie says, I told him at 6:30 a.m. And then why doesn't she just get up and move it herself? She's so incredibly lazy and ungrateful and just dumb. She says, can you please get me Starbucks on the 22nd? Please. He says, what do you want? He says, I have to go out. It might be a bit. She says, small or medium iced white mocha, sweet cream foam, and extra caramel, and a chocolate croissant. She says, how long? Dad? Warmed croissant. WTF. Why would you not get my food first? Like, and she sends literally 50 question marks. She says, I would go if I didn't feel like shit. You guys see all those question marks? Dude, is this like so weird that she talks to her dad and her boyfriend like the same? Well, you're probably like, we're probably thinking like, no, it's actually not weird because she's a piece of shit. But like, I can't deal how she talks to her dad. Yeah, this is what she does, all these question marks. Wow, dude. It's crazy. She says, I would go if I didn't feel like shit. He says, "I'll let you know when I get there. Please relax." She says, like, WTF. I told Dom no because I thought you would actually go. Unreliable AF. She says, Dad responds, I was on my way out, on my way back. I will stop making me stop what I'm doing. She says, WTF. Maybe next time, just let me know you're going to take 5 hours and I'll just have Dom do it. I want to like scream. Why doesn't she do anything for herself? Like, everyone expects everyone to cater to her. Why? She's dumb potato. She absolutely no worries except about what anybody can do for her. Like, get your own freaking Starbucks. Oh, wait, she's not supposed to be driving or some shit. Whatever. She does it anyways. Who cares? Make coffee at home. She says, I'll just have Dom do it because he's actually gonna get it. Like, do I have to have mom go? And then she says, OMG, question mark, question mark, question mark. She says, where are you? WTF. Like, please never tell me you can do something if this is how it's gonna be. She says, OMG. She says, yeah, I'm never asking you to do anything for me again. Goddamn, why can't you do this right? I swear to God, if I don't get a chocolate croissant because they're sold out, I'm going to flip out. So now she's flipping out about now she's flipping out about the croissant. Okay. Jesse says, I'm just standing there shaking my head. These texts are pissing me off. Who does she think she is? Me, 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 me. I know. I know. Chit. Make her walk, says Evie. Dude. She says, I'm going to flip, capitalized. You know, she's like screaming. He says, what do you want? I'm here. She says, I texted you and Danny what I want. Read. He says, what do you want? And she says again, medium or small, iced white mocha, sweet cold cream foam, extra caramel drizzle, and a warmed up chocolate croissant. And then she says, wow, it only took you 2 hours. He says, one more comment and I'm gone. She says, just hurry, for real. It's already late AF. She says, I shouldn't even be drinking coffee this late, but I guess I have to. So don't. Like, it's like question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, infinity. Right? Go get a bite, says Mandy. Maybe she has something on them or something. Oh, blackmailing her parents. That would not surprise me. 1 second. Seems inappropriate, says Dustin. He says, OMG, 6 p.m. She says, I have to go to bed in 2 hours. He says, then what is the problem? She says, you taking 2 hours to get my drink. He said, more like 1 hour and 20 minutes dealing with your text. She says, next time, tell me you can't go if you don't want to deal with my text. Dumb AF. He says, did you just call me dumb? Because the shitstorm is coming for you. Because the shitstorm is coming for you. I actually really like that line. I'm gonna have to use it. Holy moly, I would never talk to my parents this way. I know. Oh my God, I can't stand her. I know. He says, cause the shitstorm is coming for you. I would go hide. He says. What kind of threat is that? I would go hide. What are you gonna do? Spank her butt? Like, what the hell? What the helly? He says, I'd go hide. She says, are you threatening me for no reason when I'm sick with COVID? So loving. Then she sends him like tea to get her tea, I guess, because she's sick. And she's sending more eBay links. She says, can you buy me this tea? And is sending it. Oh, it's for her mom. Oh, Natalie. She's like, for mom, for Christmas, by ASAP. It's December 23rd. She sends it again. The links. Dad says, it's not going to be here by Christmas. Kenzie says, I don't care. I'll just tell her my gift isn't coming till next month. She will like it. I don't care. He says, you should care. She says, buy it. I'm in awe. Yeah, the links mid convo. She says, Mom always has stuff for me after Christmas. Sometime delivery takes longer. Just buy it? Question mark, question mark, question mark. She says, could you please come up here and rub my feet at 12 on 12:30, December 30th at 8:59 p.m. Could you please come up here and rub my feet? She's always asking him to do it at night too. I don't know. That makes me really uncomfortable. Not me being dramatic. Yucky. Huh? I know. It's nasty. She says, can you please come up here and rub my feet? She says, they are in pain and mom will not do a good job. Oh. So Stevie and Natalie are freaking both rubbing her feet. That's why she turned to toe jamming later. I don't know. I don't know. Are these people in the next damn room texting each other? Yes, Tima. Tima. Where's the warm leche? I don't know. That's what's right. That's right. This right here is what's wrong with a lot of folks. Whatever happened to face-to-face talks? Pain from what? She doesn't work. Pain from freaking climbing through Dom's window and threatening him. That's what she's tired from. And the pain in her feet for jumping through the window. Remember, or climbing through the window. Natalie gives bad foot rubs. Natalie gives bad foot rubs. Me too. So gross, disturbing. Yeah, I feel that. She says they're in pain and mom will not do a good job. She says, can we use your professional camera on January 2nd, 2022? So it's the year of the crash, but we're almost through these texts. So she says, we won't break it. She says, can we use the camera today? And then on the 6th at 8:54 p.m., literally around the same time, the other one was 8:59. She says, can you rub my feet? And then it jumps to we never see his response. And then the 13th, he says, the streets are really icy. Be careful. Please be extra careful driving. It's icy. She said, I know I'm at Dom's. And then on February the 3rd, he says, if you take the car out, on February 3rd at 5:41 p.m., he says, if you take the car out, I will call the police and tell them you stole it. You are not driving, period. So you might as well just go back inside. Kenzie says, I'll just show them this. LMFAO. Not her blackmailing her own dad. Dude, that's intense. He says, Kay. He says, you're 17 and I'm your father. I told you not to take the car. Whose side do you think they're going to side with? So when you get back inside, hand me the keys. Kenzie says, LOL. And then it jumps to March 9th. So like a month later, she says, where is the soil that you plant stuff in? Where's the big bag of it? He says, I don't know, maybe in the garage. Ask mom. Kenzie said, she's being dumb AF. That's why I'm asking you. Where in the garage? He says, baby, I don't know. If I had to guess, it's probably buried somewhere. Go buy some at Petty's. She says, when are you going to be back? Because my plant is going to die. Okay, Kenzie, chill out. If it's pretty much already dead, like, she's literally in that case. He says, fourish. Then she says, I got soil. You don't need to buy it. And then it jumps to the 19th. Can you take a pic of my prom dress? He says, sure. She says, never mind. Mom did. Then on the 31st, she says, when will you be home? He says, 20 minutes or so. She says, bet. Then she says, where are you? He says, in a minute. She says, are you on the way back? And then it jumps to April 4th and the dad says, they're calling you. Kenzie said, did you see? The Steelers quarterback died. He got hit by a car. Dad says, he's like the third string. Kenzie said, I don't know what that is. Dad says, the backup quarterback to the backup. And then on the 14th, she sends an attachment. She says, we need a tire. Are you close? Sends an attachment. And then she says, thank you, Dad. He says, no problem. You're my baby. I love you. Okay, so that's twice. 2 times we have heard her say thank you. She better have gotten absolutely foot rubs. Ew. They were relieved when she moved in with Dom. Dude, don't disrespect her garden. I would be like, LOL, that's your ass, cabrona. That's funny. You know, she started a garden because Meghan Markle started a garden. Yeah, I know. Natalie was, I think maybe you said that last time or somebody. I thought I've heard that before. Maybe not here. Mandy says Natalie was always taking her for pedicures too. Dude, just get a foot rubber. Like they sell those, right? Like machines. She says, thank you, Dad. He says, no problem. You're my baby. I love you. He says, be safe. She says, love you. We're on the way now. He says, make good choices, which she never did. He says, have fun. Love you. On May 6th, she says, are you close to town hall? He says, no. Why? She says, never mind. Do you want to try deer jerky? Dom's dad made it. It's kind of weird, but good. He says, sure. And then sends like a screenshot of messages and more messages. And it's May 14th. And he says, see how awesome I am? LOL. Thanks for helping. Kenzie says, we should try to get her and fight for her. She can literally be in Danny's room. Dad says, Scalar's mom got emergency custody of her until they can go to court. Kenzie says, is that bad? Her dad says, no good. And that was on the 18th. And then it jumps to the 19th. She says, you're never driving my effing car again. Disgusting. She says, don't effing eat fast food in my car, then leave the trash in my car. Disgusting. Also, maybe try putting it back the way it was when you left. Don't take my steering wheel off if you're not going to put it back on. She says, you're done. He says, first, our car that we pay for. Secondly, don't speak to me like this. Sorry, it was just a bag. OMG, grow up. Third, I'll drive that car when and wherever I want. Kenzie says, if you can find the keys. So no, you will not be driving my car anymore. You can ask for my permission though, and then maybe you can. But I'm just letting you know, disrespectful. He says, again, my car that you use. She says, if you wanted to be treated with respect, how about you give it to other people? Dude, I bet they are relieved she's in prison too. Yeah, because they don't freaking have to give her foot rubs. You know, they're probably living it up. They're probably drinking all the chocolate milk and warming up all the milk and giving each other foot rubs. Natalie and Steve. She says, if you want to be treated with respect, how about you give it to other people? He says, ditto. She says, have fun in your closet when you get home. Your trash is in there. Dad says, if I was you, I would think twice before you piss me off because then you won't have a car, period. So text me again with your BS and see. Think twice, he says. Kenzie says, I tell you 1,000,000 times to not disrespect my car and take my steering wheel off and leave trash, especially eat fast food in my car but you never listen. I'm just telling you that you're disrespectful. Her dad says, when you start making car payments and insurance payments, until then, you can keep your disrespectful tone and words to yourself. Kenzie says, we on the way on the 20th. He says, I'm here. She says, we will be there in 7 minutes. Where are you parked? 5 minutes. He says, be careful, have fun. She says, thank you, love you. He says, but not too much fun. LOL. Corny ass joke. Then she sends screenshots of something. He says, yet on the 21st, he says, yes, the school knows nothing has been done, just talk. Kenzie says, what do I say? Her dad says, tell her not to worry about it and relax. And then she's sending an Instagram link. This is May 26th. He says, why? Kenzie says, it's a bait Hot Wheel. He says, I don't have an Instagram login. Send me a pic. Kenzie says, oh, I don't know why it's making you log in. He says, I don't know. So then she sends him 4 different pictures. He says, how much is it? She said $50 for a Hot Wheel, $150 for the shirts. And then she sends a link. He says, too much, but they look cool. He said, thanks. And then she's sending more screenshots. He says, on June 14th, he says, are you at Dom's? She says, no. She says, take them home. I'll pick them up. Thank you. He says, K. She says, I needed them. She says, how many did you get? He says, 6. Kenzie says, thank you. And then on the 16th at 10:26 a.m., she says, here. She says, can we go? And then on the 19th, she says, happy Father's Day. He says, thanks. And then she sends a screenshot. And then he says, tell I know. We're almost done with these. He says, maybe open both windows, Cheech. So she was smoking in the house. I mean, we already knew that, but yeah. He says, maybe open both windows, Cheech. She says, we did. He says on June 26th, hey, did my friends give you a $20 bill by chance? And sends a picture of something. Kenzie says, what is that? He says, mom said to send this to you. It's a heat press. He says, I have one. Kenzie says, I don't know what that does. He said, 4 shirts, making cricket t-shirts for applying the image to the shirt. And that's where they ended it. Why? I don't know. It's kind of random. They ended it on June 16th. I don't really think those were like incriminating other than the weed part. Let's watch this interview with her parents. That was really short. I know, Cheech. I want to play this clip for you guys really quick. Oh, okay. I want to play this clip really quick. Alcohol. Oh yeah, and the alcohol as well. For you guys, it's an interview with her parents. Or the vodka part. Yeah, it's really short. It's like, I think 3 or 4 minutes. But I thought it would be interesting if we watch this together right now.
23 murder conviction. The parents of 20-year-old Mackenzie Shirilla are speaking out. Shirilla was 17 when she crashed her car, killing her boyfriend and their friend. In a 3 News Investigates exclusive, her parents insist it was an accident and not murder. They're now sharing details of Mackenzie's life in prison and fighting to clear her name, even as prosecutors stand by the evidence that put her behind bars.
Oh my God.
In July 2022, a day that brought a mix of pain,
I struggled with this because
and guilt.
Because how can I feel bad that these 2 boys died and feel grief with these families and then be
Oh my gosh, this is him. I need to go back a little bit. This is wild.
and feel grief with these families and then be absolutely overjoyed that my kid is alive.
It's been almost 3 years since the deadly crash in Strongsville that killed Mackenzie Shirilla's boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and their friend, Davion Flanagan. Now, Shirilla's parents are speaking out, insisting that the justice system got it wrong.
Show me one piece of evidence, one, that says she did this on purpose. Show it to me. Here it is. That's it. Then she's right where she belongs, and she's guilty of it. But there isn't any.
State of mind.
Prosecutors argued that she intentionally drove into a building without ever hitting the brakes, with black box data showing the car sped up to 100 miles an hour. They also argued that 2 weeks before the crash, Shirilla allegedly threatened to crash her car during an argument with Russo. The court cited it as proof of premeditation.
And she said, Dominic, I'm going to crash this car.
But her parents maintain there's another explanation. A new legal team now arguing medical evidence the first trial missed, with a UH neurologist concluding that Shirilla suffered a medical episode at the time of the crash and a loss of consciousness, something prosecutors called speculative. Shirilla's latest court filing also includes text messages they claim flipped the narrative over who was threatening whom in the weeks before the crash, with texts from Russo purportedly saying, "I'm sorry."
There's no evidence what was going on in that car other than the information they gleaned from the black box information.
This was not reckless driving. This was murder.
In the 2023 bench trial, the judge found Shirilla guilty of murder and sentenced her to 15 years to life.
And these poor families think she did it intentionally, and she didn't. And and they don't know. There's information they didn't see. There's information they didn't have. There's information we didn't see or have.
Should she be in prison for murder?
No, absolutely not.
Should she be in prison for aggravated vehicular homicide?
I don't even know about that aggravated part.
I don't know about the aggravated part, because I don't think you can still say why was going on the car. Should she have been charged with reckless vehicular homicide, 2 counts?
I don't even.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not if it was medical.
Today, Mackenzie Shirilla is now in an Ohio women's prison in Marysville, where her mom says they chat every day, whether by text from a tablet or by phone.
She does a lot of painting. She paints.
What kind of hopes, what kind of expectations do you have for Mackenzie's future?
That the truth will set her free. That's what I.
That the truth, Natalie Shirilla, right now, I'm going to freak out. Let me go back. I need to watch this.
That the truth will set her free. That's what I need to have happen. The truth, that there was no intent, that part, the truth will set her free.
The Ohio Supreme Court has already rejected her appeal of the verdict. And earlier this month, the lower court rejected Shirilla's petition for a new trial, which is now under appeal. Now,
That's an old clip, so you guys know. What world? I know. Okay, I want to play another one. This is the last clip. This is Steve Shirilla does like a little intro for the school thing he does or whatever, his job. Let's watch this.
Hi, I'm Steve Shirilla. I'm the art teacher here at Mary Queen of Peace. I started as a sub in 2019, and in 2020 I was hired full-time as the art teacher here at the school. This is my first classroom. This is my first teaching job. I've done a little subbing over the years, but this is my first full-time, my classroom. I went to Ohio University. I've got my BFA in graphic design. I received that back in 1990, so I'm a little older teacher. I got a little slow start in doing teaching. I got my teaching certificate from Baldwin Wallace, and that's basically my education. Other than that, I've got 25 years experience working in television as a graphic designer. I've won Emmys. I've got Pro Max Go medallions. They're like Oscars for promotion in art and TV. I'm married. I've got 2 daughters, teenage daughters. I've got a lot of goofy hobbies. I race slot cars. I collect comic books. I collect Hot Wheels. I'm a 12-year-old at heart. So, which makes me, I guess, good with all your kids. My favorite thing about teaching is the kids. I feel like I relate to them. I can talk to them. I come in, I ask them how their weekend is. They ask me how my weekend is. So I get a good rapport with the students, and I guess that's me in a nutshell. I'm your art teacher, or I could be your art teacher. We have a lot of fun. I do all kind of art. I have them draw, I have them paint, I have them sculpt. I am trying everything. I'm an open book right now with what I'm doing. Come to MQP.
No, thank you. I'd rather stay right where I am. But thank you. But no, thank you. That's hilarious. I'm just showing you guys what's public out there for your little beautiful eyes. Okay, I was gonna show you guys some pictures, but I think I'm gonna make this a different live. I wanted to go through these accident pictures. So, okay, we're gonna do a different live. That was it for the text messages with her dad. I have read the ones with Miss Russo before, but we might go through those another day. And we still have some with two of her friends. I don't know how long those are. We might be able to do those in one live. I'm going to separate them. I want to see pictures. Yes, I will. I'm going to end this live and then I'm going to be back tonight anyways for either Kenzie or something else, something or an after dark. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I want to go through these. These are post-crash videos, post-crash photos, and then Halloween. A couple of Halloween videos. I think we've seen most of them from when she's dressed as a corpse. So I'll do another live on these. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. Make sure you guys please hit the like button. Thank you for being here. Does her sentence include the rugs on her that night? No, I don't think they even got her for any of that because I think they had enough with the other two charges, the schmurder charges. Open book, you say? Hit him up, Melly. I got denied. I've been denied or ignored. Not denied, ignored. Any with her mom? No, I wish, but I'll try to get them. Please, please, please hit the like button on your way out. Can you show me Rosie? Oh, how about we do that on the next live, Pumpkin? Yes, call me Pumpkin. Let's do Rosie on when we do the Halloween pictures or post-crash pictures. I might just make a thumbnail and come back with it right now. But anyways, thank you for being here. Yeah, she was charged with the rugs. Oh, she did? I thought they didn't charge her for that. Steve is 59, not 69. Oh, I didn't even hear how old he said he was. You're welcome. Yes, I did. Okay. Thanks, Melly. I'll be there in a bit to rub your feet. Please do, babelets. Okay, hit the like button on the way out. Tap, tap, tap. I'm going to be back tonight, so you better be back tonight too. Okay, they overcharged her. No, keep her up in there. Charge her with I think they undercharged her, you mean, right? Like they should have charged her for more. Schmurder? Yeah. All right. Okay. See you guys in a bit. Please hit the like button on the way out. And thank you for being here. I'll catch you on the next one.